Is this the ugliest Hermes bag I've ever seen? No, it's not. But I can guarantee that no one is going to get excited to find this bag under the Christmas tree in an orange box. Hi guys, my name is G.P.S. and welcome back to my channel. Christmas is in exactly 3 weeks from today, which makes me really excited. And if you chose to buy gifts this year, I hope that my holiday gift guides have been helpful to you. And today we'll be adding another video to the series, but rather than listening to my ideas, we're going to head over to the Hermes website and check out their curated holiday gift guide, which personally I have not had a chance to look at, so you'll get to see and hear my first impressions. But hopefully I'm familiar with most, if not all of the products, so I'm able to give you mini reviews, and if there are any pieces that I'm not the biggest fan of, I can hopefully suggest better alternatives. So if you want to join me in doing some holiday window shopping at Hermes, then please keep on watching. Okay, so I just pulled up the Hermes website so you can see everything that I see. And I'm currently on the American website, so I'm not sure if this sort of a layout or the product recommendations change based on which website you look at. But if you see a completely different selection, then do let me know in the comment section. And let's go ahead and look at the perfect wish list according to Hermes. So let's see the first recommendations, which quite predictably are scarves. So we have one of the H scarves here, which I think looking at this, it seems to be a silk and cashmere scarf. So it's not a full silk or a full cashmere scarf, because I'm personally not the biggest fan of silk scarves. I don't think that silk scarves are a particularly good gift unless it's for someone who is going to put it on a wall or someone who absolutely loves silk scarves and collects them. I'm not a silk scarf person by any means. So I think as a winter Christmas gift, I would definitely want to gift a cashmere scarf. But Hermes does make quite a few scarves that are a blend of silk and cashmere or silk and wool. And I think this particular piece happens to be one that's a blend of both, but let's have a closer look at it together. Yeah, so this is a reversible cashmere and silk scarf, 70% cashmere and 30% silk, made in Great Britain. And it is part of their men's collection. Now, I'm not sure if I'm getting recommendations from the men's collection because I was logged in to the Hermes website or what's going on, but the first recommendations have been for the Hermes collection so far. And I mean, it's a nice scarf. I don't think it would keep you warm. I think this is more about making a fashion statement than keeping your neck warm in the winter. I'm not a big scarf person, so if I was to buy a scarf for someone, I would just go for the regular Hermes muffler, I think they call it, which comes in two different versions. There's one that's double-sided, and each side is a different color, and then it just has the Hermes logo really, really subtly embroidered into the bottom of the scarf. Or I would go for the regular muffler, which is just one single color on both sides, and then again, it just has Hermes embroidered in the scarf. I wouldn't go for a silk cashmere scarf unless it was for a person who goes to a bunch of black and white tie events and they need some sort of scarf accessory. I don't think that would make a great gift, but that's just my personal experience and opinion. And then the next scarf that they have here for us as a recommendation is the so-called color dye scarf in 100, which if you see a number next to a scarf, it usually refers to the size, which means that it measures 100 centimeters. And I have a feeling that this might be from the same collection as one of my favorite homeware line, which is, I believe it's called the Dip and Dye collection. So let's go and have a look at this. Yes, so it seems to be from the exact same collection. And what makes this special is that each one of these is going to be a little bit different, because the way that they are created is that in Nepal, they essentially take this big piece of cashmere fabric and they dip it in different buckets of color. So each stripe that you see here was individually sort of painted onto the fabric by a craftsman taking the fabric, and dipping it into a bucket of paint. And because of that reason, each one of them is going to be just slightly different. And where you see a new shade being created by two colors crossing, it happens because those two different pigments are actually on top of each other and they sort of mix, which I think is quite interesting. And while it has this sort of elegant kind of contemporary art feel to it, it's still a little bit DIY in the best way possible. Now, one thing that I wish this scarf had is something that both the pillows and then the blankets in the same collection have, is that they have quite a prominent H, which is the same H that you see on the Avalon blankets, that is created on the blankets by putting on this wooden block that looks like an H, and they press it against the fabric. So when they dip it into this bath of pigment, the fabric in that area cannot soak in the color. So when they remove it from the bath and the color dries, they take off the wooden H. It reveals the perfectly untouched fabric underneath it, which at the end creates an H. And I wish this scarf had that detail. I guess they don't have it because you already have sort of an H here. I guess the colors are put onto the scarf in a way that it already creates an H. I guess you win some, you lose some, but I think this is an amazing piece. I personally would still recommend just a regular Hermès muffler, which is similar to this, 100% cashmere. And it definitely seems much thicker and warmer than this one. And I think the Hermès mufflers are just, even though they are simple, you cannot really go wrong with them. They come in a bunch of different colors. And if you choose to go for one of the reversible ones, you essentially give a person a 2-in-1 because they can decide which side they want to wear out. Let's scroll down and see what's next. And it seems we have an entire selection of the Passifolia line. This was the newest line added to the Hermès tableware collection. And it's interesting that they're pushing this because in my opinion it's not really Christmassy. But it's definitely something new. And the first piece that we have here is a tray. Now I think trays make a phenomenal gift because they are not a piece that can strictly be used for one thing. This tray can be used in the kitchen to hold different things or to plate perhaps a piece of cake or scones or muffins on the table. They can use it as a little plate for fruits that is always on display. But you can also take this and use it as a jewelry holder to hold little trinkets. You can have it next to your entryway, and you can use this to store keys and wallets and things that you need to grab when you're on your way out. So I love having these little trays in my personal apartment. I have the smaller ones next to every sink, and I just use them as little jewelry holders. So in case I get home and I want to wash my hands, then I can quickly take off all my jewelry and just store it there separate so nothing gets wet while I'm washing my hands. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of these little trays. One thing you want to be careful with is that you don't give this to someone who's too rough with their things, because you can actually chip this if you use this to store keys and jewelry, because it's made of porcelain. So if you're too rough, you can mark it and scratch it and chip it. In that case, I would recommend that you get a leather tray. But if you know someone who really appreciates their luxury pieces, this would make an amazing gift. And for $300, I think it's a pretty good luxury gift. Next up, they have a dinner plate here with this huge sort of, is it a banana leaf? It does sort of remind me of the Beverly Hills banana leaves, as this entire collection does. Yes, a dinner plate could be a nice gift, especially for someone who you know well, but if you're going to buy them, I would suggest that you buy 2 of them as a little set. And then we have a teacup from the same collection, which is definitely much more out there with all these different leaves. The previous 2 pieces only featured just 1 leaf each. This one has a much more intricate and decorated print to it, but it's definitely nice. And then the last one is a larger bowl, which I personally wouldn't give as a gift. Quiet moments in your favorite spot call for added touches over soft and cozy textiles, which I personally completely agree with. The very first Christmas gift guide I mentioned the Avalon blankets, which again seem to be selling out really fast. So as I mentioned in my very first video, if you want them, get them as soon as you can, because I was at Hermes recently and they had no Avalon blankets left. So let's see what they suggest. So we have one pillow here, which we cannot see. Now this can either be one of the newer Avalon pillows that don't actually feature the really obvious age, or yeah, I think it's that. I don't think there's an or. But the other piece that I was thinking that it could be is perhaps the new Brie de Gala pillows, which don't actually have any age branding on them, just a part of the iconic Brie de Gala print, which I absolutely love. And what's interesting about those is that I think the pillows are reversible. So on each side they are a different color, so you can turn them around and add sort of a different touch of color to your home. And then personally, I wasn't recommended any other pillows or blankets, but I think the Avalon pillow without a doubt would make an amazing gift. And then I was offered the travel set of 3, which I've seen before. It comes with a little pouch, a pair of socks, and then an eye mask. Now personally, I was never really impressed by this selection because they're not the most luxurious. They're quite thin, and even though they're made of cashmere, they don't have that really luxurious feel to them that, for example, a silk eye mask would. So I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think this would be quite disappointing. And then within the same line, you can also buy a robe, which I think is about $2,500, $3,000. I was given that as a gift a really long time ago, and I could not wait to exchange it for something else, because that robe is so incredibly disappointing, especially for the price. Obviously, it's beautifully made. It's made of cashmere, and then it has a leather trim. But you definitely want more for $3,000 than a robe like that. And then the next piece that was suggested to us is the Bolide travel case, which is a piece that I talked about before in several videos. It's a piece that's from the Hermès home section, but it makes the most incredible Hermès bag. I have used this bag for years and years and years, and I still do. It is something that you can use on its own as a little pouch bag. You can use it as a crossbody bag. There's a way that you can attach a crossbody strap to it, which I'll make sure to link up here. And then you can also use it as, obviously, as a makeup bag or a toiletry bag or as a catch-all. I think this is an amazing piece to invest in. And if you buy this as a gift for someone, I think they will be really, really impressed by it. And then we finally have some women's pieces, because the scarves were mainly focusing on the men's pieces. So the first thing that they recommend that you buy is watches. Now, personally, I'm not a huge timepiece person. I don't really like wearing anything on my wrists, so I never really got into luxury watches. And even if I was into them, I would still not buy an Hermes watch. I personally think that, I wouldn't think that they're a waste of money, but for how much their more beautiful watches cost, you can definitely buy yourself a more serious watch. Now, if you ask someone at Hermes, they're going to be really proud of the fact that they, I think, have their own, I'm sorry, I'm not really familiar with all the terminology, but they have their own time mechanisms. They have something that is unique to them. So they make everything themselves. It's not just some sort of private labeled watch branch. They do make everything themselves, which they're really proud of. And they do make some incredible watches, but personally I feel that they're quite overpriced for what they are. But the watch that they feature here is, I believe you pronounce it Ash, which means H-hour. And this is an iconic watch, which, if you like the way it looks, I would highly recommend that you check out the pre-loved market, because you can often find Hermes watches in excellent condition at a fraction of the price. But this one seems to be with diamonds around the dial, and then the face, I believe you call it, the face itself is mother of pearl. So I would guess that this is somewhere around like $12,000-$13,000, which is definitely up there in price. Now, if I was to buy an Hermes watch, the only one that I would really buy is the Medora watch, which essentially looks like a bracelet, and then it has 3 little Medora pyramids on it. But the middle one is slightly bigger than the other 2, and if you open it up, it reveals a little watch inside, which I think is a cute touch. Personally, still not something that I would spend money on, but if I was forced to buy one, that would be the one that I get. Next up, they recommend the Petite Ash back charm, which, in case you're not familiar with the Petite Ash line, I've been meaning to do a video on them. But it's essentially a branch of Hermes that they founded maybe 6-7 years ago at this point. And the whole idea of Petite Ash is that they reuse leftover materials that were left over in their regular production. So instead of throwing them away, they turn them into more like whimsical and fun products. So you can often see back charms, but they make everything that you can imagine. I think they make screwdrivers, they make candle holders out of broken china, they have adhesive tapes and shelf hooks and everything that you can imagine. And everything is really colorful and whimsical. Now, Petite Ash you cannot buy in store, you can only buy it online. And you cannot choose what you want to receive. I think you can choose color groups. So you can choose, oh, I'm interested in brown and black. Then you'll get either a brown or a black. If you're interested in a color group of pink and red, you'll likely receive one of those colors. But it's not something that you can buy in store unless you're in Paris. There is one store in Paris that sells Petite Ash. And then they also have this sort of moving, you would call it a moving pop-up store. They go from Hermès boutique to Hermès boutique each year. And they set up this temporary store where you have the option to pick up a selected number of pieces. It's not something that I ever really got into because I always felt that the pricing was up there where the pricing of Hermès pieces are, but the designs were never quite meeting the same standard. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm not really into this sort of playful aesthetic. But if you like Petite Ash, it does make a great gift. Their next recommended category is women's silk, which is, of course, something that Hermes would recommend. They're really well known for their silk scarves. But what's interesting here is that the picture as a recommendation is actually a cashmere scarf. I believe this is the Kazakh color blocking stole, which is actually made of cashmere, which I'm personally a big fan of. I love anything color blocking. And this is a scarf that comes in a few different colorways. But there are two more scarves that I would love to put on your radar. The men's muffler that I recommended earlier is one that they also make for women, which is similar to the men's one, is reversible, and then it has the Hermes embroidery. But the women's version is actually a little bit larger, so it can be wrapped around a few more times. Or another piece that I quite like is the so-called ex libris scarf, which is much lighter than the previous two. It is a blend of silk and cashmere, so it's definitely not something that would keep you warm. But it does add sort of a nice touch of elegance because of the silk. It has a beautiful sheen to it, and it does have the Hermes ex libris logo all over it. Next up, we have some ties, which I really cannot add too much to. If you want to buy some ties for someone, it's a great time of year to do that because both scarves and ties come in seasonal packaging. So it's definitely something that you can do this time of year. Next up, we have some shoes, which I've recently done a really in-depth video on. I did a video with my Hermes shoe recommendations, which I will be sure to link up here. I don't think that this is the pair that you should go for, so I would highly recommend that you check out my video on Hermes boots. I don't want to bore you in case you watched that video, so I'm not going to repeat that, but that video is full of recommendations. Next up, we have some fragrances, which Hermes creates some beautiful fragrances. My favorite one happens to be Amber Narguilé, which is from their more expensive, more high-end line, which I believe is called the Hermescence line, which is their most high-end line. But the Hermes Twilly and then the Hermes Kelly fragrances are also quite popular. Next up, we have jewelry here as a recommendation, which who wouldn't love a piece of Hermes fine jewelry? Now, personally, I'm not a big silver person. I find silver jewelry to be sort of a waste of money. So it's definitely not something that I would spend money on. And then the piece that they feature here is actually a Shantung double bracelet made of silver. If I was to buy someone a fine jewelry gift, I would personally get them the Shantung gold earrings, the mini version, which is made of obviously 18 karat gold, but it's really, really reasonably priced for what you get. I think the earrings are under $1,000, which I think is a great deal considering that you're getting a pair of real gold earrings. And because of the size, it means that if someone has multiple holes in their ears, they can use it in different parts of their ears. They can match it with other more substantial pieces. I think that would be an amazing gift to buy. It's not overly expensive, but it makes quite a beautiful statement. Or I don't think you can go wrong with a Kelly ring either. And then the last category is, of course, bags. But I'm not quite sure why this is the bag that they chose to recommend to us, which, in case you like the style, this is called the Oakley chain bag. Is this the ugliest Hermes bag I've ever seen? No, it's not. But I can guarantee that no one is going to get excited to find this bag under the Christmas tree in an orange box. There's nothing wrong with it, but unless someone specifically tells you to buy this for them or specifically tells you that they're interested in this, just don't do this. This is not the bag that anyone wants to find under the Christmas tree in an orange box. This is a really sort of understated bag that Hermes has a few different variations of. It comes, I believe, in 2 different sizes, in size 24, which is this one, and then I think in size 28. And then you also have the option to pick it up with either that thicker, heavier chain that you see here, or there's also a version that comes with an adjustable leather strap. It's an interesting bag that also has a matching coin purse that you can pick up from Hermès' SLG Métier that has that very same sort of triangle shape. And they are created from one piece of leather that is sort of kind of folded in to create this origami-like bag. I'm not a big fan of this because I think if you saw this walking down the street, you would, I'm sure, be convinced that this is a really well-made, beautiful bag. But you would likely think that this is maybe a $2,000 Givenchy bag, not an over $6,000 Hermes bag. So I personally would not waste money on this. If you want to get someone a bag from Hermes, then you can do much better than this. You can pick up a Picotin, a Bolide, a Her bag. So if you're going to write a letter to Santa with your holiday wish list and you're looking for an Hermes bag, please don't put this on your wish list unless you absolutely love it. I have done quite a few bag recommendations in the recent past, so I'll make sure to have them linked up here. At the end of the day, this is an okay bag, but trust me, no one is going to be over the moon to unbox this on Christmas Day. Although, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I think this completes our review of the Hermes Holiday Gift Guide. I would love to know what you guys thought about this. How do you feel about the pieces? Do you agree with the pieces on this list? Is there anything that you would love to find under the Christmas tree? Is there anything that you think is missing from this list? Please let me know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.